All right, you are live. I will call this meeting of the trustees of the Morrisville Water and Light to order at 5:30 p.m. Are there any agenda adjustments? Nothing? Public comment? No. Okay. We'll move on to the approval of the last minutes.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes as printed of the last meeting. Is there any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Special meeting minutes.
Approve. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes as printed of the special meeting that we had. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor of approving them as printed, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Check register,
Many pages.
many,
That was a big one, because we haven't had a meeting in a while. There was a lot of check registers all combined.
oh, yes.
You know, what are they, rebates, refunds to people, cause.
A lot of them are-
small check.
A lot of them are the refunds from the rate case, we got that sort reduction, that 1% reduction in the final rate case. So a lot of the $3 and $4 and $5 and $10 ones were the rebates for people that are no longer on our system.
Okay.
Okay, that's they're on our system, we just put a credit on
$150.
account. But if they're off our system, and some of them were bigger, you know, we were sure about, but
Yeah, some of them are bigger, like they're right on the second, the page 9 there, you got like Carl Lipsky.
yeah,
That's a rebate check from a job,
but that's a job rebate.
that's like a job rebate.
Okay, thank
That's a
you.
different kind.
Now, what about the check to MSI? That was pretty big.
Well, are we gonna go into discussion mode first?
So yeah, we need to, you should get the motion first,
Motion first.
and then discuss.
Motion to approve check register.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on that?
MSI, either you guys know the MSI one? Who hired MSI?
Like, it's pretty big.
Yeah,
It's all
You know what page it was?
probably for the water leak on Brooklyn Street.
Oh, yeah, that's probably what it was.
oh,
You hired them for that, didn't you? You hired everybody for that.
Yeah, it was all hands on deck.
Yeah, that's right.
all right.
I assume I have to double check that.
I just had a question, saw some payments to the line I on. Let's see, October 3rd, it was a 5,000 on September 17th, it was a 5,000. And then on October 3rd, it was a 10,000.
Yep.
And there's another one on 10/16 for 5,000. Did
Yep.
we miss a payment somewhere?
So the 5,000s are the monthly fee.
Right.
So well, they just got stacked up for some reason. The 10,000 is a one-time fee for the additional work we have them doing on Green River. The whole
Is that-
legislative
Is that
campaign.
the end of the year thing?
That was to cover for the last 4 months of the year from when we started that legislative pressure. That big process that we've talked about.
So we're paying them more, we have more work to do?
Well, in that case, so the core contract is really, is the normal stuff that we do with them. It's Alex, and when we had to bring Nick in for that additional piece, rather than get a monthly thing from them, I'm like, let's just have a defined period of time when we need this service, send me one bill, we'll sign it, we'll be done. So that
Because
was.
this is the first time I've seen an additional one,
We did.
because of legislation.
We had one last year as well for the legislative session, for we had to ramp up services last year in the legislature too.
Do we know how much we paid them up to date? I don't need a number, I'm just saying, okay,
We pay them 60 grand a year, and we've made 2 additional spot purchases of extra. So I don't even know how long you've had Alex on.
and how long do we keep doing this? I mean, I
We're
know,
getting close to the end.
I know, but we said that last year.
Well,
I just wanna know, because
I agree.
it's 50,000, it was 60,000 a year
Grand a year.
to do. Most of it was to do nothing for a while when Green River there was nothing going on, and I just wanna say, this is the optics here, and I wanna make sure we're getting our money's worth.
Yeah, I believe we are, I'm hopeful if things go as currently seeming that they are going, that we should be on the other side of this in 3 months.
Yeah, I'm not saying wash our hands of it, I'm just saying we need to kind of reevaluate what we're paying and what we're getting out of it for,
Yeah.
60 grand.
Yep, But I'm hoping we'll be at the other side of this in as soon as 3 months.
So.
I'll update you later in the meeting on that and
Okay.
in the appropriate session.
That's all.
Who is ADB Incorporated for 50,233?
That was for the breaker the replacement breaker and something.
Thank you.
ABB was the manufacturer.
That's Andrew Brown, but very.
You.
USAID.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay,
But
thanks.
that's what that was for, is we had to replace Green Mountain Power's breaker. They gave us one,
Oh, yes,
So we
yes.
went out, we didn't have.
because there's 32 weeks out, that's why you're seeing it now, because it took so long to get here.
They're a great partner that way, because they have a lot of stuff in stock, so if there's an oddball, they'll let us basically, if they have it. And they can spare it, they'll let us come get it, and then the deal usually is just ship it right to us, you order it, you just have it shipped to us, and then we're all square.
It was very
So no
important,
cost difference.
no, they told, I just replaced them,
They're really a great partner
they
that.
had 15 of them sitting in that door yet.
I know, we used to be able to borrow circuit breakers from them, well, they were overall ours.
Really?
Yeah, this one,
Back and take it back.
this one couldn't be overhauled.
No,
This one was destroyed, there was no overhaul in the one that we blew.
No,
Was it a spike or something? What causes that? Preston?
birds,
It was a bird.
birds got in the top of it, blew it out the head. I never showed you pictures
How the
of it,
birds.
they were going all kind
Don't call PETA.
With no DNA check. Okay,
And by the way, we have animal guards and everywhere where it's practicable to have animal guards, so,
That came about during that period.
so,
okay, thank you.
just to say it out loud.
Are there any other questions regarding the check registers? Hearing none? All those in favor of approving them, signify by saying aye. The ayes have it, it's carried unanimously. VSPC alternate appointment.
Want to get it on the floor first? So, get your motion first.
motion to approve the,
Oh, I thought.
PPC alternate appointment.
Then I'll explain it.
Second. So, sorry. Seconded,
Sorry.
you're on.
So, the Vermont System Planning Committee, or I think that's what it's called, is a creation of the state that basically all the utilities come together and all the various advocacy groups, and it's done kind of through Velco to talk about the statewide system. Generally speaking, I go, and generally speaking, the managers go, for all the utilities, but there's times when you can't be there. And so, VEPSA has a staff person who's basically said but he goes anyway, as part of his job, like when you can't go, if there's a time when we need to have enough votes to stop something bad from happening and you can't be there, if you want to appoint, John Abbott as our alternate, which most of the meetings are doing, he'd walk in with like 10 or 11 votes if something bad was happening and none of us could make it. And we could make sure that at least things got slowed down so we could hear about it. So that's the intention here. It's not an intention that he's gonna represent us every meeting, because I try to go to them as much as I can. But if I can't and others can't and something bad's gonna happen, we can at least direct our alternate how we want them to vote. That's the only thing we're trying to do with this alternate appointment.
Okay, someone wanna make a motion?
Already did.
I bet, but this is the whole, okay.
I'll leave the whole motion here.
Oh, I just wanted to add it on that.
Move to appoint John Abbott as alternate representative to the Vermont Systems Planning Committee on behalf of Morrisville Water and Light.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to appoint John Abbott as our alternate representative to the Vermont Systems Planning Committee on behalf of Morrisville Water and Light. All those in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Healthy Country Club easement termination escrow.
So, this should be fairly easy. When this came up months ago, you all signed the termination agreement and you told me to hang on to it till we had the cash in our hand. To make sure that we didn't give up the signatures and never get the check. That's created a problem in the closing. So what Tim Sargent suggested, is that he as the attorney who will be at the closing whenever it happens, he will put, I would give him your signed signature page, and he would hold it in escrow until the cash actually gets to us, and then he would release it. And they're willing to trust the attorney and not us. So, which is fine, it didn't seem terrible to me, so, but I didn't feel like I had the authority to make the change. Since I actually asked you to give very specific direction, so, you know, cause I wanna make sure that they couldn't leverage it out of my hands without giving me a check. So I'm fine with this, but it actually requires you to slightly modify in the way that I think I wrote for you. So it's as simple as that.
So we moved to have Tim Sargent hold the signed easement termination agreement between Copley Country Club and the Village of Morrisville and escrow until such time as the village has received the payment required as part of the overall agreement.
I'll second
Motion's made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Okay, we're at the LCPC land use map.
Let's defer that for now. I don't quite know where they are, and maybe they're not gonna come. Okay. They want to come and do round two with you, but they're not here. So let's just defer that for now.
Okay.
You can always come back to it if they do show up, if that's acceptable.
The SQRP report.
So this is, we're required to report on a regular basis to the state about how we're doing with outages. Rusty actually puts this together with Penny, but you can answer any questions. We are in compliance with all of the target metrics that are there for us to meet in terms of reliability on our system. But if you have any questions, this is a report that goes to the state, it's already gone to the state. From my perspective, it's just good form to also share it with you, so that this is your way to know if we're actually keeping a reliable system per the state standards. So I don't know if there's anything.
Seems pretty darn good to me.
No action required, just so you're aware, that's all.
You just stop dividing by zero and be all set.
That's true. Our math.
It's a lot of it's just timeframes.
Yeah.
You know, like once we get a report or something, we got 7 days to take care of it.
I mean, the time
Let's do it.
we had a tree down in our backyard, it was the service was just tremendous.
Yes, it was.
It really was. It was like within a half an hour, like response time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
it. Was it on the wires?
Oh, yeah, it was everywhere.
he took it off his house and my house and wiped out 2 houses.
Yeah.
It's good,
Or else
Rusty.
if you know somebody.
Yeah.
Guess we just have to stay off that street a
And
little bit longer.
Yeah.
I do think
So we hear
that
those teeth
Make
chatter.
them appreciate you a little more.
these baseline numbers are gonna go down, the targets are gonna get reduced, meaning harder to hit. As part of this statewide reliability docket that I've written to you about multiple times, so. But as you see, we're not having a hard time meeting the current ones, so I don't suspect we're gonna have a hard time meeting the new ones, and I think we'll be okay. That's not true for all utilities, by the way, so.
We are working very hard to work to minimize the outage times.
Yeah.
Sometimes those can be misconstrued by CRC, you know, on when we're closing them, they don't always get closed at that correct time, and we've got to buff that up a little bit, just so it tightens the outage times up a little bit.
Do we have to vote on this?
No.
Okay, I thought
There's also a reflex, by the way, a couple of years ago, we all agreed to a multi-year process to slowly increase spending on tree cutting, and it's making a difference, and even Rusty's crew is like, we don't get as much overtime as we used to get, which is a good
No, the
thing.
outage.
And
No.
there's,
we're sorry.
it's not, well, they'll make it up, because like there's other places that need and go help, so it's not like they don't get overtime, but like. Whether it's customers or our own staff, people have actually noticed.
Just since I've been,
Yeah.
I've seen a big difference on you getting a hold on getting the tree stuff.
Now, do our adjacent utilities spend as much money trimming trees as we do?
They spend more than what we do.
Some do,
Good.
Some do.
Good.
some do.
Yeah.
To the east, they spend more.
They also charge
Yes,
us
they
much
spend
better rates.
nothing.
Yeah.
Charge half as much?
To the south, they spend more.
Really? Would you like to switch bills? I pay 26 cents a kilowatt.
Where do you really?
Yeah,
He's in whack.
I wanna watch the electric.
He has the privileges of paying the highest bills in the state, so.
Oh, smart.
So they have no outages?
Oh, yeah, no, until I get a generator, I don't go out.
Their problem,
Yeah.
Weck's problem is they have no commercial base in their whole, they have a much bigger service territory, but they
Yeah,
have basically no. They're like 92% residential, something enormous number like that.
You know, listen, with all these people that can hack into systems and bypass the meters, I would think you'd be the most qualified to pull it off.
You could, but
I know too many of them, they take good care of us.
yeah,
That's good.
right.
Okay, draft capital plan.
Great, so this is something that I don't know that we've ever done, maybe we have, and, you know, there's a term of art of draft of capital plan that. Gets approved by the state and does all kinds of, that's not what we're trying to do here, the towns did that. For purposes of downtown designation, we were already working on an internal capital plan. Because it just makes sense to let you all see what's coming, for us to know what's coming, for us to start figuring out. When should we put financing instruments together to maybe, you know, go pull 3 years of capital together at once. And get a better rate and with a better term and, you know, all of those sort of things, but that requires you to know what's coming. So at the staff level, we've taken a 20-year look. The plan we gave you is a 5-year look, and in my mind, a good internal capital plan is a 5-year plan that you renew every 3 years, so you never get to the end of it. And the purpose of that is things change in projects like this one, all of a sudden there's a hold up on a permit, so you gotta move it a year, and then you pull this one back a year. And you just keep making progress, right? So you never kind of get to the end of it. And the purpose of the other 15 years is really almost a placekeeper for the next time you update, so that what are those big things that we know are coming down the pike that we don't want somebody in the future to forget, like we built the wastewater treatment plant last time in 2008. They tend to have a 30-year life. So in 2038 in this plan, we've put a placeholder for the next upgrade of the wastewater treatment plant, not because of new capacity needs, just because stuff breaks after 30 years and you gotta do, generally speaking, 30 years is the number for a wastewater treatment plant. You do a major overall haul of it every 30 years. So that's just an example. I gave you an example of some of the sort of things that are in the out years in the memo, and then we gave you the sort of what's really coming spreadsheets, in the document. And, you know, there's a big investments coming, right? I think there's, I forget the number, 60 or so, $60 or $80 million in this thing that's coming over time. And that's a lot of money, but it's over 20 years and we're in the infrastructure business. And as we've talked about, we're gonna be expected to upgrade all of our transmission distribution lines and transformers and substations to meet tomorrow's electrification expectations. And we're here in another year, hopefully, we're gonna get to the end of the FERC process. And that's when you actually make your 30-year investment in your hydro plants, so you can get your return on investment. You do that as soon after you get your licenses, so you can basically use the whole 30 years to get the capital back, right? So there's probably 12, 15, $20 million of investment just at the hydro plants at that point, right? That's when you time those. So then they're in the rate base for the next 30 years and they're just churning and it all makes sense without creating rate shock. So there's all these sort of investments coming and we've been investing in the water system with new lines, so some of those are embedded in here and so there's all these sort of activities that if you're in the infrastructure business, you know, you took care of a ship, so you know, you gotta keep taking care of it or it doesn't work anymore. And so that's what we're doing, that's what you see in here. We're happy to walk you through anything or see if you had questions about anything. And I know we've already been talking about a second draft. We missed a few things along the way, so we've got some little cheat sheet lists of mostly small dollar things that we missed. So we haven't really missed any big dollar things that we've come up with, but there's some small dollar things that we didn't get in this in the first draft. So we just wanted to get it on the agenda and have a conversation and see what you thought. I figured it's probably as scary as hell to think about numbers that big. It is for me, and so I suspected that you probably would feel the same way, but you know, the fact of the matter is we're running 3 utilities and they're not cheap to run. We're happy to dive.
With those numbers in front of you, can you, you feel comfortable that we'll be able to afford to do those things without going broke or?
I think so, some of them will, in the bigger spreadsheets, we've even included which pieces we think we can chase grants for and which pieces are really rate based and, that sort of activity, and some of this we can. And we, in the longer term, we've got like the idea of a microgrid in the village. So that we could actually, if there was a big outage across all of New England and we got told to turn it off, that we could keep the hospital and the grocery stores and the core services all going by totally disconnecting. That's probably a $20 million project all by itself, so.
Is that
we wouldn't-
putting in switches kind of thing? or-
Switches, batteries, rewiring our hydro plants so they could feed the distribution system back in here, like they did in the 1895 era. And all kinds of things like that. But that would be like, we go to deal to the Department of Energy at the United States level and say, hey, you wanna see if a microgrid can work in rural America? Like, send us 70% of the money and we'll show you that it can work, And so and if we couldn't get money to attract that, we just wouldn't do it. We don't have to do that. So ideas like that, we've tagged as only if we found grants, right? Money fell from the sky. But most of the core stuff, yes, I believe that, the rate base can handle that sort of investment. There'll be times when it's a shock, like when we have to update the plant. The nice thing is that however many million bond that we pulled in 2009, that would be falling off at the same time. So you'd have one bond fall off and lower rates and another bond come on. The net would probably be a little higher because what it will cost to do in 2038 is more expensive than what it costs to do in 2008, right? So it would be a little higher, but not as much as it feels like, because that bond would drop off, the old one, right? We pulled a 30-year note for that at the time. And, so it's that sort of thing. We do have a couple of other, and I don't remember what they all are. I'm so fortunate Penny's not here, but we got a couple of other bonds that, from yesteryear that are gonna drop off, I think, on the electric system here coming up. There might be one on water as well. So we've got a couple of old debt instruments that will be falling away and creating a little bit of capacity as well. And we can get more on that for you next time we talk about this. So yeah, I think we can do that and have reasonable rates and, some of this is gonna cost more, the electrification stuff, gonna cost more, but. The state's idea with electrification, and I can tell you, I've done the math myself, they're not wrong. But there's a problem with it that I'll say, is that. You can increase electric rates somewhat. And if you're electrifying things, it will be cheaper than what you replace that's gas, oil, and propane driven. And that is a true statement. You can run things with electricity cheaper than you can with today's technology than you can with those three sources. If you had natural gas, it's not a true statement. They're basically on par. So if you increase electric rates, you're actually telling people to pay more. The problem is, it's all a matter of timing, because we have a lot of people that we serve who are interested in electrification. So for them, their electric bill is just gonna go up and they're not interested in not using oil, propane, or gasoline anymore. So for people that don't adopt, they just see bigger bills. And people that do adopt, they probably save money. So reconciling how the hell you deal with that and the timing of that is on the electrification pieces of these expenditures, Carl, is the trick. And I think nobody in the states really even acknowledge that that's a true statement, because they don't want that to be a true statement. They want to say that it's going to be cheaper for everybody because, it's cheaper than gasoline. But what about people that don't want an electric car? And you can say, well, keep your damn electric car and pay more. We have a policy we're adopting to accomplish something. You can say that, but those people are still gonna pay more, right? So I like to just try to be as honest as I can about those things and call out. Every policy you adopt has winners and losers. That's what policies do. You change zoning, you change what can happen in a place, people either got upzoned or downzoned, and their properties either worth more or less, right? And that's just the way it goes, and it's true of every policy that ever has been adopted. And most people don't like to acknowledge that somebody loses on when you change policy, right? try to be transparent about it.
Any question?
Go ahead.
Yes,
Yeah, about the, 5-year plan.
Yeah,
So I noticed that, you have, water, get water main replacement.
Yep.
Sheet 19. And, starting 2026 goes, 27, 20, 29. So I'm just wondering, with the town, planning to do, major paving projects, whether you've coordinated the, water main replacement work, so that it would occur before the,
yeah.
the paving projects.
So we've historically tried to do that, and most of the time it's worked really well. The most recent example I think of that was Best Street. We frankly probably delayed that project 3, 4, 5, 6 years, quite a while. Because the town kept thinking they were gonna pave it, but then they didn't have a paving budget. So we just kept trying to map it and make it work. To the extent that the town has a paving plan that they're gonna be able to kind of mostly stick to. Again, this is why I said, that's another example of where we could trade projects through the years. To try to map, that's another example I said for permitting. It could also be to sync up with the town within reason. Like we had a project this year, I forget where it was, where they said, even though the road's not great, we're not gonna be paving that road anytime soon, so you should just go ahead. Right? So where we can do it and it makes sense for everybody, we would absolutely try to sync up. One of the questions I have on the town side is, they're, as I understand it, and I'm not an expert about anything in the town, the town's budgeting. Is, they haven't created dedicated annual source for paving, so that they actually know they're doing paving every year. They're doing the special article thing. And that makes it hard to plan, are they even gonna pave next year, right? So I don't say that to be critical, it's just when we're trying to match projects together, if they're not sure they're gonna pay, but we know we're doing projects. It's another complicator, but to the extent we can do it, I think there's a long history of trying to do that, Kevin can tell you, because he's been going through it.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Our plan is to bring you back a second, maybe final draft, or like I said, we found a couple of hoops we wanna make. Nothing big, but I don't even know if we need to adopt it, that's, we can figure that out at the time, I don't really have, like I say, it's mostly intended to be an internal document, so that you guys are never shocked when we come and say, oh, we've got $11 million of capital we gotta do next year, and you're like, where the hell did that come from? So,
Like it was a fair amount of work pulling all those numbers together.
yeah, we got.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm very impressed with that. Management update? Kevin, what you got?
All kinds of stuff. When did you last go through these? Any questions? One of the biggest things was, Katie's Falls, we had, Fairbanks Mills come in with some good news and some bad news. The good news is the penstock from the head gate all the way to the surge tank is in really good shape. They did measurements every 50 feet all the way around. That was great news. Bad news is the penstock between the surge tank and the horizontal unit was cheese, and they tried to repair it and thought they got it. We flooded it and it's still leaking, so they're.
That's one of the items that will be added to the capital plan next time.
Yeah. But we're waiting for a quote to come in. They're talking about either putting rebar mesh on the inside of it and shotcreting it, or relining it with new sections of pipe. I mean, I think it's a 9-foot penstock, so more to come on that. That was a little disheartening, so.
It's worth noting, this is one of our first experiences with Fairbanks.
Yeah.
And we've been really impressed by them so far, super impressed.
Good. What's the penstock made of?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it's cast or just regular
I
steel
think
plates.
it's steel with the funky, like a black coating stuff on it. The same as Harlett's, right?
The rivets are starting to come apart. Yeah, I think it's the same vintage thing.
So if you're talking about the coating, coated on the outside?
No, it would be a mesh built on the inside of it and then shotcreted to it. Then the original outer shell would be you know, kind of like our sewer line.
No, I'm just wondering if a piece of it came off and went through the turf,
Well,
or I
that's-
buy a new turf too.
Right. So we got.
The shotcrete would be all sprayed concrete type stuff, so it would be one solid liner once it was done, but there's that approach. There's putting new, you know, spherical sections of pipe inside it.
Mhm.
And how they attach it to the outside is beyond me, but, so they're working up a quote right now to see what option would work best for it, so.
How long is it, Kevin?
Not very,
Oh, it's probably 60 feet maybe.
not bad.
Yeah, and it's got a bend in it just to make it a little easier. So, more to come on that, so,
Does it keep you from using it?
yeah.
Yeah, but we're shut down until you,
Well, we can use the vertical there,
yeah.
so we don't run them both at the same time, yeah, so we're okay for that.
But troubleshooting the horizontal, what the initial problem was, where it is now is, we can't even do that till we get the and stuff repaired.
Is that the one too you were replacing the bearing on?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's all done, but we haven't been able to test
No,
it,
you
because we
can't test
can't
it.
put water through it. So we're also having them look at the draft tubes to repair those at the same time, but they have
Drain
holes in
valves.
them, as we had told you.
Mhm.
So they're gonna repair, they didn't think that would be hard,
No.
that's an easy repair.
So, that was,
Did we do any work on Bridge Street there? I know they paved, they fixed that speed bump that was at the end of the bridge.
Mhm.
Did we do that? Did we have anything to do with that?
we will.
In the,
Oh,
at the end of Bridge Street, so basically we agreed with the town when that all happened, you're talking at the Bijou?
Mhm.
Well, no, not in the.
But
corner,
they
on
did the
the
reason, they also got rid of the nasty
Oh,
bump.
Yeah, yeah, the bump there at the end.
Okay,
Right before you get off, right when you get off the bridge and.
Oh, that there.
that wasn't,
Yeah,
that's the
all
town,
paved.
they did it all at the same time, but we only paid for the parking of Bridge Street.
Okay.
They gave us an
It's not-
estimate,
Nice now. It's
yeah,
nice.
it is.
Yeah.
And I think that estimate was just for that section.
Yeah, we only paid for the section right at the usual, the rest they should have paid, they paid for it.
I was happy they just dig it up, they just ground it down and repaved it.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens this winter.
That was a tryout for us, like we hadn't really done it that way before in the past. Kevin chased paving contractors who aren't gonna come respond to us for a little patch, right? So we were like, we asked the town, like, if you're doing something down there anyway, why don't you tell us what you think it's gonna cost? We'll pay you to repair, you know, the damage we made. And you just do the whole thing, cause you're in the paving business, and thankfully they were like, hey, yeah, let's work together and figure it out, so really good collaboration. Yeah, that's nice, appreciate it.
It should be, that shouldn't be news.
You know, always work great with the town.
We have, that's good, I just like to call it out, that's the two, good for the community, you know, that actually we're all working really well together, you know?
Been good.
What else you got, Kevin? Worth noting that you did the drawdown at Elmore like we always do.
Mhm.
How much do you do that? How far do you draw down?
About 2 feet.
Yeah.
Spring and fall, right?
Just in the fall.
Oh, just in the,
Yeah.
okay.
Um. Oh, we got the, just down the street here, near Tripp's house, they're gonna do about 1,200 feet of sewer line. Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday this next week, so.
Re-sleeve it, you mean, or re-sleeve it?
Yeah, well, it's an
Line it.
inflatable,
Yeah.
cured in place,
Yeah.
PVC type. It's really cool. I mean, what it would cost to excavate and replace compared to what this is, it's godsend, yeah. So in the next 2 years, I think part of the stuff Scott had in the capital plan is to continue up Elmore Street to the very end, and then that'll all be done, and then we can start hitting a lot of the lateral streets that instead of digging up that old clay tile pipe, that's what we're doing.
Good deal.
What is trip?
Um,
Somebody, that person's name?
yeah, gunboat, right here on the corner.
The sharp
Used to own
corner
that
down the
old
street
house
here,
there.
yellow house that sets up on the bank.
Oh,
They were that newest pole just goes.
Just above
That's, I was gonna ask you about that event yesterday, right? The car hit a pole there or what?
Oh, yes.
Another one.
The same pole that was hit before?
That was the one just above that.
Those trees, the poles, the hydrant, it's a bad corner.
Did you see where somebody took out the porch of that house on? Yeah, coming into town.
Yeah.
Something, you know where the farm is?
Yeah.
Where?
Oh, it's big one, but the Richard's
Farm?
You know,
They took out that porch?
Took out the whole porch.
It fell down.
No, it was.
Car hit it when I went
You made a
by.
drive through out of it.
The porch roof was on the car.
Yeah.
No
yeah. It was a
kidding.
Toyota Tacoma or something.
How the hell did they get?
When I went back, the
Don't
other,
ask questions
the
like
bar
that.
stove is gone, and the roof is still on the ground.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
my
No,
God.
it's like-
It looks like a new roof too, looks like a membrane roof. It's everything underneath it.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, other than that, any other questions?
You're up.
Okay. Well, when this was sent to you guys, obviously, we were really focused on 3319 line, so that's why there wasn't a lot on here. We are 2 poles away from being finished. Kind of pulled off from that so we can get caught up on our primary underground jobs. Our deadline for that is November 15th, so as of right now, we have 3 more left to do.
Excuse me. Why is there a deadline on doing that work, Rusty?
Because the weather, you can't do terminations and stuff in rain, and when it's really cold, it just doesn't work.
Okay, all right,
You know, if we do them in the winter, you really need to have a tent and a heater,
okay,
just for that stuff to peel back. There's 7 stages of peeling that wire back in order to make a termination.
thank you.
And they're not very friendly when it's cold, and you can't have any moisture in it, otherwise they'll fail.
Sure.
That's why there's a date. We say the 15th, but if we have weather permitting, which we're going to need to get a couple of these done, we will go a little bit later. I mean, snow starts coming and stuff. We're gonna probably have to shut it down, but weather permitting, we will go a little bit past.
So the other good thing about the deadline, and internally weather permitting, is it sets the expectation of, you know. If you need to do planning because you want to start a new development, do your planning. Don't run right to the edge and then expect us to figure out how to pull a miracle out of the hat, right? So we in almost every utility, I think our neighbor to the east does not, they're the only one I know of, to the west, excuse me. Have a deadline, but everybody puts a deadline out really as much as anything to let people know, like. If you're gonna need this, like, get your crap together and tell us and give us time to get your job done before November 15th, right? So, okay.
So. With that being said, there's a couple other things I had in here. The young lady that we hired. Every one of our apprentices that we hire, we give them a chance to go to the NEPA school. And give them a chance to test out of the first year, cause they pretty much cover. That at school when they go to lineman school. She did very good, she tested out. Her test results and. What they had to say about her was just absolutely phenomenal, so she's really doing very, very well. We've actually had more than 3 on here, but we've had a lot of solar. Transformer changes due to solars and batteries coming onto our system. We've gotten 5 of the primary underground jobs done as of right now. We've helped with the sewer plant, we're pulling up the mixers. We have had to go to Hyde Park a couple of times now that we're in a new scenario, we're going there more often than we have in the past.
How come you have for 2 weeks on there, Rusty? Is that the past 2 weeks, you mean, or?
It's this weekend next, so I
You're only
actually added that, there's, their foreman who does all their own calls on vacation, he's at deer camp. So we agreed to cover their own call for them with our guys.
Oh, I see, it's not, open-ended because of. Correct.
No, there's only a lineman and an apprentice there, so the lineman's actually gone to Ohio hunting for 2 weeks, so.
Yeah.
In that rotation, I send a first class lineman to work with their apprentice on any trouble calls. So we have a designated guy that's for Hyde Park, and we actually have a designated crew for ours as well.
And any of that sort of stuff isn't included in our contract that you all authorize, so we'll get paid by VEPSA will get paid by Hyde Park. And anything we do just goes to VEPSA, they pay us immediately, and then they'll see how long it takes to get paid.
Now, we assist them like that. Do our guys get overtime?
Yep.
They do, and that's the.
You get the overtime, they also get a differential.
They get a
Okay.
premium.
Because if you cross our system boundary, the contract includes differential, basically a little factor up, right?
And
Which is true of most utilities, it's not just us, just, you know, like most of the.
All utilities,
All the contracts are set up that way.
Would you like to discuss
Oh, yeah, we
that,
have
or do you
another.
want me to discuss
There's
that?
one other thing we wanted to bring up, just to get your sense, so we're thinking. Just to let you know, we don't always wanna get new toys, you know, earlier in the year, we came to you with the request to buy an excavator because it would make economic sense. So we've got an old chipper out there, and mostly when we do vegetative management now, cut trees, we bring people in to do it. So Rusty came to me and said, I'm not sure why we wanna just keep letting that thing sit out there rusting, we should just get rid of it. And get what we can before it goes through another winter getting wet. And we talked through like, is there a reason for us to have one, how much do we use it? And basically the answer was,
I've used it once this
to
year.
use it once or twice a year. For $300 or $400 a day, we can go rent one. It'd be a lot cheaper than having one sit out there rusting, so we're planning to put that out. To see who would like to give us a price to buy it from us, but, you know, I thought I should at least check in with you, since it's an asset of Morrisville Water and Light, and make sure that you're comfortable with us. Getting rid of that asset.
It's depreciating, how much is it worth?
In 2000, we bought that chipper in 2001 for $20,000. So it's, looking around online, seeing kind of where they're going from, they're going about $7,500 to $12,000.
That's our thought, but I just wanted to check in with you, I don't really need to make a motion, that's why I did it.
Well, with the added responsibilities, is that something we might be needing now with David?
I don't see it, because everybody hires tree companies, you know, and so I mean, we talked about all that and we kind of landed on. You know, it's really a piece of equipment, doesn't need to be sitting out there anymore from our perspective.
Most all the utilities now, if we're gonna go cut a tree that's kind of the customer wants you to cut it, we go and cut it and we just leave them responsible to clean it up.
Yeah, like,
So we don't have the chipper. One of the things that I brought to Scott's attention that really is sparking this is we do have to, we are replacing the dump truck this next year. And the chip box that goes on that dump truck was made specifically for the dump truck in the shop. So if that's gotta go with the truck, and if with a new one, we would have to pay to build a new chip box on that new dump truck. And I personally think that's a waste of money.
Yep.
We don't use it enough that I don't wanna do that part of it. And I was asking Scott, I said, I really think that we should sell that thing before, wow, it's worth something.
Yep.
You know, she's had a hard life, don't get me wrong, she doesn't look pretty, and she's had a hard life, but the longer she sits out there, she's gonna go bad at us, so if we can get her
If you can get almost half of what you paid for it,
Exactly, 25 years later.
25 years later, that,
I mean, we're gonna do our best,
of course.
you know, and stuff like that, but I just wanted to ask you guys what your guys' thoughts were.
We'll report back to you about what we get, just wanted to, unless anyone objects, and I don't think I need a motion, I just wanted to check in and see if anyone had heartburn about us getting rid of that piece of equipment.
I got a question for Rusty. You said, you know, you don't always chip stuff on people's property.
If a customer calls me and asks me to cut a specific tree, I'll go cut it, but they're gonna clean up the mess.
I'm just thinking of when you guys came on my property and trimmed trees, you did chip it.
how long ago was that?
Well, it's probably done it 10 times in 40 years, but
If the property is then within our right of way, we're gonna have the tree guys come through and do the cutting when the time is sufficient.
your pole's on in anybody's right away.
What's that?
Your pole's on in anybody's right away. And my trees were coming out to the wires,
Mm-hmm.
so. Right. You trimmed them and chipped them and took them away.
When they came.
Correct.
When they came to our yard.
Years back, Morrisville cut their own right of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we hire H Bros
Oh,
cut our right of ways. So they are actually coming through, they're actually cutting, they're chipping, and they're taking care of that. You get into certain scenarios, and some people want their trees cut because they're close to the lines. And yes, is it a danger to my line? Some scenarios they will be. And in those scenarios, I will take that tree down, but you're going to get rid of the wood and clean up the mess.
Yeah.
We had to get rid of
Let me rephrase that. Your poles aren't in, you don't have a right of way.
We're in the town right away, we're supposed to be.
No, you're not.
Oh, not in your
They
case.
were originally until I wasn't home, I was out at sea, they moved them all back about 5 feet out of the town road.
Oh, wow.
And I know when Dave was, dealing with the people, the development across the street. They were gonna put a transformer on one of the poles and they had to get an easement from me to put an anchor
All right.
in, because none of that stuff is in the town right away. I'm just asking you, if you come through and cut the trees again, you're gonna chip them.
If it's effective,
If it's in the right of way, yes. But you don't understand the amount of trees that we get called to just go do because
Somebody thinks.
somebody
they
thinks.
think, so for. Sometimes if the tree is leaning out and it's gonna be done. It's not worth paying $5,000 to HOs to go cut that, but I will cut it down
Mm-hmm.
if they wanna clean up their wood, and a lot of people will just. Have their neighbor come get the fire.
The tree might be 5 feet on, or 10 feet on their property, but it's leaning and they're nervous. And that's the case that we
Oh, I
saw.
mean, Dave walks to work,
Yeah.
so he would walk right under these things every morning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when he needed to trim, he trimmed.
Yeah. Yeah, they're growing out over into the road. That's when he hires HOs to go do it and they chip it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, well, that'll be our plan. We'll report back with what we get. And we just want to check in with
I'm
you.
all for it.
Good. That was good. Anything on pennies? I know she's got, the thing I would point out is she's got a demonstration set up with a company called NISC. Which has an enterprise system that has financial, customer information system, basically all kind of software services, so. Most of the communities are headed that way, so we're investigating that to replace our 25-year-old. Software system that we have for our finance and customer information system, so don't have an answer yet, but she's looking hard at that. And the other thing I just thought it'd be worth you knowing is, we did spend, well, parts of various days, staff went to different sessions, but I was on vacation, so I'm the only one that didn't, but everybody else got CPR training. And because the line had to, so we thought, your customers. Everybody actually knew what to do. We've got AEDs later on the trucks.
We carry AEDs on the trucks, and there's actually 2 in our facility.
Yeah.
That's one reason I wanted all the staff to be trained in CPR and AED.
So, wanted to let you know, we took that time to do that training, so. Anything else on pennies that any of you had questions about?
The software we're talking about, is it still supported? They were currently using.
That we're currently using,
still
yeah, there's a
supported?
company that supports it and they're really slow and challenging to get to address their tickets and they're still considered a good software program. We probably, if we stayed with them, which is still an option that we're looking at, we'd be the only people in Vermont on the system. So there's not a users group anymore to compare notes with and I would say that I think Penny is a pretty strong advocate of that system. Historically, though she's starting to want to drift towards NIST. I would say that most of our other front office staff do not enjoy the experience. That's how I would put it.
Of the existing.
Of the existing system. So these guys use it and I don't, these pieces of it.
It's a couple steps above DOS.
Oh, no.
It's really old.
Very not user friendly.
Yeah, it's really old and this NIST company is actually a cooperative, so it's basically member owned. So if you buy into the software, you have some say about how it gets developed. Oh. So, and most, like I say, VEC is on it, most of the munis are either on it or going towards it, Stowe's on it. So Penny is beginning to like it a lot, so I'm not telling you that we've decided, but she's actually looking at possible. Transition dates with this, so that's pretty far down the road, so we'll let you know a couple of meetings on it. So, yeah. On 9, let's see. I wanted to make sure, or is it, and I know I've talked with Jerry a bit about this, so. I'm working with the town, a bit on a possible grant application, towns doing all the work. To start doing some pre-planning about potential Clark Park. We've never been all that excited about that idea here because it's just attracting more people in and around our hydro plant. And frankly, after last year's loss of life down in that swimming pool, we're less excited about it. But it's also possible that there's ways to restrict more around our plants and more around that swimming hole and still have something happen down there. We're actually required by our new water quality certificates when they go into effect to go through a planning process.
So the current one, we didn't have that requirement.
No, so when the new ones go into effect, we actually have a requirement to, do a public process and evaluate the potential of some sort of public public access down there. So we actually have to look at this, no matter what we might or might not have for biases. And the town seems interested in taking a look, and I think, and we'll let Jerry hop in here in a minute, I'm guessing that. I certainly know his predecessor as chair was always excited about looking at it, and I think the conservation commission probably is too. And so the key for me is how do you actually better protect the areas that need to be protected more and potentially then create access to the rest of the area. And I know Kevin's always like, well, the way to do that is to create the access actually off of Bridge Street, off of that parking lot on Bridge Street instead of down B Street. And so those are the kind of things we can look at. The town, I don't know where they came up with the idea, I haven't heard, but they're working on a grant application, and I just wanted to let you know, I told them that they could list us as a co-applicant, because we have to do this work anyway. We already have a requirement to do it, so mostly want to make sure you're ready to answer any questions, and Jerry may have something he'd like to say about it too. It looks like you have a question.
So the other access is at the parking lot of, for Bridge Street and the bypass.
Correct, that new parking lot there that what came with that housing, what, 3 or 4 years
They call
ago?
it a park and ride.
It's a park ride, it's not a house. It's not a park.
I know it's not, but
So
they're
there's-
park there all the time.
So I've never actually been down there, so there's actually a trail there?
I believe there is.
You'd have to build.
You have to go.
So it's just people walking through the woods?
It's kind of a dirt road, right?
Yeah, it's along the bypass.
Well, I know where it is,
Yeah.
but, so there's no real access to.
But there
it.
could be, it's a point. You
Right,
could
okay.
create
Where's the
an
access now?
Off of
And
the street.
our
You
parking.
know, there's man-made little trails.
Right, it's not like a real,
They could basically make their own coming
It's
from.
down in our
the-
plant. These people go down through there.
oh, they do.
That's how they go.
I think when we did that land swap with, well, we sold that piece of land to that developer. He developed that project down in the corner there.
I think so, yes.
And I think there was some kind of talk about him letting people access it through there.
I think maybe.
So-
So unfortunately, the
The
other,
idea is to make this into a park for public use?
Yes,
But we know it's a dangerous place?
no, we don't want to have people going into the dangerous area.
Oh,
that's
okay.
right, that's what I'm saying, both
There
areas
is a-
are accommodated.
The areas that can be isolated from dangerous areas. It's a beautiful place. And there's a lot of interest in recreation and trail building, trail maintaining. We have trails that we're doing an inventory, so we know exactly where everything is, but this would be a wonderful thing to add to the list of the trails to have connections with other trails.
But as part of the plan is to block off the danger pool.
I would say that would be a necessary thing, understanding, knowing, the concerns, if what our light has, and also, for public that would want to go in and use the area. So, yeah, that would have to be part of, any plan, I would think,
But I'm not wrong in saying that there is a specific place that is dangerous for life.
It's happened there more than once, as I understand. It happened
I mean,
last
the
year.
fact
I
that
believe
the
a couple
diver had to
decades
go
ago it
down and
happened
could not
also.
find the body.
And
It's dangerous.
it's happened a bunch of times, there's been no reports.
Yeah, that may
I
be,
mean, they didn't die, but
Yeah.
people have jumped off
I
the
know, I
dam.
think there's at least 2 deaths over time.
Well, Gaylord Monte that I went
Yeah.
to school with, he saw off the hydrant on the other side.
Yeah, so there is a concern there, and as you all know, we had asked the town to consider, I don't think it's gotten to the select board yet. Eventually closing off B Street and letting us put a gate in, on this side of the.
So I do agree, it is picturesque, and yes, if it could be developed, great, and as long as that, part of that plan is to bring awareness to where the unsafe places are. Make that better, because then people aren't maybe going in there, right? Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
And in theory, this is what the grant can look at. If the
Yeah.
town successfully gets some grant money, they can get a consultant that knows how to do park planning and that can address these sorts
Yeah,
of
'cause if
issues.
you do nothing, you're not solving any problem.
And we can check our box on our on our water quality certificate that we're required to do. We gotta do it anyway.
Is it just gonna be another homeless park though down in there? I mean, that's been a problem in the past.
That's part of
Was
what's
dealing with,
yeah,
It is a problem.
that's part of what has to get
It's hardly a
evaluated,
problem.
right? How do you
Excuse me?
control that?
It's currently a problem.
yes, I
Yes.
noticed, yeah, I noticed, I know, I realize that, how you control it, I just wondered if.
Yeah, you know, that's something that would have to be discussed with the planners and, you know, how to alleviate that.
Okay,
And by having more people down there, we're probably lessen the fact, having people go down there is.
Yes, the fact that it's an undeveloped area, I know that means that they could go in there undetected and, you know, nobody will see them. I think that's something that they, you know, are looking to do, to be isolated and away from public.
Is there any site plan started on this? I mean, is that part of the grant application?
Nothing's been started, and I guess it's all been discussion.
Boundaries and all that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep, that will all
Yeah,
be
the
part of
Farm
it.
Light owned part of that parking lot, wasn't there a section of the parking lot that we said? No, to, as far as, we didn't sell the whole thing, we just like the back end of it or
Do you
in
know?
the corner.
I think that's the corner that the developer said that people could access to get down there. I remember the discussion, I
Yeah,
don't,
we didn't sell that portion of it.
At
no,
the
we sold the
parking
land
lot,
at the other
at
end.
the parking lot on Bridge Street, they're asking about.
We sold
We
them
own
at
it.
the
The
other
back
end.
end of it,
We abutting that property,
but don't we, because I remember them saying. There's gonna be parking there, and we like wanted to put a sign saying no parking on this certain spot because.
Okay.
It's off, and we owned it, and it wasn't public use,
Let us take a look at that.
like the back end of the parking lot, I don't know.
yeah, the parking lot's in state land, right?
The state gave it to the town and the town made it
Oh,
public.
it is, okay.
So let us take a look at the record and see that, because if it's not, if it's supposed to be signed that way and it's not, we can get that done.
Yeah, how does this tie in with Jen Holden Flats with us for signage?
So that's all done.
Okay.
So that's on the other side of the
Right.
meeting, and that's, these guys worked with her and got the kiosk put in, and that's all been done this summer. That was done like within 2 or 3 weeks of you guys meeting with her, she was on that.
It looks nice, but
She was.
all the equipment from the pumping station is like surrounded.
And we've told those guys to be very careful not to disturb that. We made very clear with the contractor to be really careful.
Is that going well?
That's what it's.
It is.
Because of anything else on Clark Park before we jump off that?
Oh, no, now I see.
So,
Thanks.
because of the government shutdown, the physical security assessment that was planned for yesterday, it did not happen. So we'll be rescheduling that, because that was a federal employee, that he's not allowed to work. So we'll reschedule that. We do have our contractor who's gonna be making renovations in the building. He's coming to meet with the staff on Monday morning. So we'll be closed for an hour on Monday morning to walk through the kind of changes that will be happening to improve physical safety here in our offices as part of that, and then he'll get to work. So just so you're aware of that. Any other questions? Things are, all the contracts are in place for Hardwick and Hyde Park and all that stuff, so. Thank you to our chair for coming in 2 different times to sign contracts, but anything else on there you want more info about?
I got a question about this chip thing. The last paragraph.
Yeah.
Page 59.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds like a good idea. But we're faced with a situation here in Morrisville where. These buildings don't pay any taxes, so how are we gonna collect the sewer money from somebody who doesn't pay any taxes?
We have to resolve that issue. I know the town's listers are looking at what happened there. with the reduction in grand list, like all those new buildings that paid on one rate the first year and now are paying on a 10% rate now. That's what happened to our tax rate this year in the village, so presumably the same thing's happening to the town. So, so that's gotta get resolved. You know, but this is part of the state strategy to get more housing built, is basically to create a property by property tax increment finance district. They're calling it something different, but that's.
We're in a situation there where they're paying taxes to the town, but they're not paying taxes to the village.
Well,
they want-
they would be paying taxes to us based on our very meager amount of money we raised. But what happened, the reason our rate went up so much this year is because one of those buildings went from 4.5 million to 570,000 in 1 year.
You know, the taxes on my house are more than some of these.
I know,
Buildings.
so I know that, as I said, the listers are trying to figure out, you know, if there's any other opportunity, any other alternative there. It's not, you don't have to be for or against affordable housing. But if the notion is that you wanna build this stuff where there's services and then you build it, and then people that need services are gonna show up, but there's not gonna be any taxes to pay for the services, then what have you done to yourself? You've created, I don't know.
I think we have sold a bill of goods, because they kept telling us our individual taxes were gonna go down, and the tax base increased by X number of millions of dollars, and my taxes went up.
So I know that both our treasurer and the listers are looking at if that's a forever thing or if that was a short-term thing. And so when we here over the coming months, I don't have a timeline from them, but I know that it's being looked at what happened this year that had those valuations drop 90%.
They were never full anyway.
They were never full anyway, and then they dropped like 90% from what they were.
Is this a state thing that,
I don't know the details of how that happened.
The state, it is a state thing for the low income housing. They pay at a reduced rate. They pay on what they're supposedly, what their income is. If you don't charge anybody any rent, you don't have any income.
Yeah. So we'll have to see, and you know, this CHIPS thing, it could be a good financing tool if you wanted more housing of various types. But you may create more of these issues, so. I suspect at some point that the town's gonna be interested in this, and part of the reason I put it on here is, you know, as I think. We probably should get you some more information about what this is, so that before that dialogue starts, that we start becoming educated on this CHIPS proposal, because there's $200 million allocated. To putting into this CHIPS program to help housing happen across the state, and that's the biggest investment in housing that's happening. Really, was it 200? It's a big number. So, yeah, 200 million over 10 years. So that's a big number investment for the state of Vermont.
But it doesn't sound like, it's gonna come from the state of Vermont. It's gonna come from the taxpayers in Morrisville.
Well, it's gonna come from somewhere, and yeah,
Eventually, it's gonna come from the taxpayers in Morrisville. It's gonna pay back the cost of building these pumping stations and everything else.
well, the theory is that what happens in these is, so what they use this financing for is to get the infrastructure they need. So what you could have is so let's just pick a 10-acre parcel. We have some of these just
In the
outside,
village,
of where our sewers currently go, that
Yeah.
require a pump station to put in, which we would never do ourselves, right? And, you know, and let's say you could get 10 units on septic systems, but maybe you could get 40 if you put in a pump station. Well, that developer could actually apply to the state for this CHIPS money
mm-hmm,
to pay for the pump station to be built to our spec. So then it could get turned over to us. So that's actually a good deal for us.
for us, yes.
And it works out great. And then you end up with 40 houses instead of 10. And I'm making out numbers here, right? So don't hold me to the numbers. But that's the leverage you're trying to create with this, to get the extra density from infrastructure. As a way to create more housing in a state that needs more housing. So that's what they're trying to do.
That's the way it starts off.
Right, I hear you.
And then it's paid for with additional taxes generated from the new development.
Correct,
it isn't paying taxes?
correct.
So I mean, they're not gonna pay any more in taxes,
So it
they're gonna pay
depends
what
on-
everybody else
So it
pays.
depends on what kind of housing you create, right? And whether or not they're gonna be able to get this 90% reduction.
I realize that, but you're gonna be taxing the people up on Cody Hill.
No, the taxes that pay it back are only from the new development.
Okay,
That's the idea.
that,
Sorry,
they're
I
gonna have a
misunderstood.
tax on top of their regular. tax.
Correct.
Okay,
That's the way
it
it's
doesn't
supposed
say
to
that
work.
anyway.
That's the way it's supposed to work.
Okay,
If the
I
house,
have no problems with that.
those extra 30 units, basically all the extra cash flow from those
taxes.
help to make it work.
Yeah.
So, and again, I may have some of it a little wrong, I mean, I saw this presentation. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure that, well, the state's really fired up about us, so they're gonna be marketing it. You know, the town still seem, at the town level, they still seem pretty interested in more housing. So I think, you know, Brent's gonna be told to be interested in this, so I was like, at some point, this is coming here, so we better start learning about it. Okay? And is an opportunity for us to create some more infrastructure that we wouldn't otherwise, it would never make sense for us. To go pay $1.5 million to put a pump station in for 10 or 20 or 30 houses. Cause our ratepayers would subsidize that forever.
Mhm.
But if there's an initiative like this, where you can create the financing mechanism, they can pay for what they're needing. And we can actually create additional revenues to help take care of our whole system, that can be a win-win for everybody, right?
And wouldn't it be cheaper for the developers? They wouldn't have to
Correct.
make a bunch of leach fields or
They
whatever?
wouldn't have to do the leach fields and they could get bigger density. So, you know, they spread out their paving costs and everything else to all their other development costs. It's the same 10 acre parcel, in my example, right? And there are a number of those right at the edges of our territory, service territory. But we've tried to go to the bottom of, to the top of all the hills, right? We didn't keep going on the other side over the years. So anyway, that's what's going on with that.
Okay,
Any other questions?
In general, any other, like Green River Reservoir, any updates on that, or are we?
I'm actually gonna grab my cheat sheet so that I can add one additional reason to go into executive session, so I can update you on that based on his earlier question. So before you do your motion, because I wanna have a second, reason. I forgot my magic file. I usually bring my magic file with me. Lets me help make sure we stay straight with open meeting law. Which one was it? Swing 13. Okay. So what I would say is in addition to 313A1B, you would also be going in for 313A1F. When you're ready to go in the executive session.
Is there any other business to come before the meeting?
Do you want to go in executive session?
Sure. Hearing that,
I'll make a motion to go into executive session, for VSA 313A1B and F.
Right.
do I have a second?
second,
Okay, we are in executive session as of 6:38 P.M.
Good night.
Sherry.
Thank you.
Hang on. Sorry, I'm gonna do this.
Time is it?
Everyone's.
We'll come out of executive session at 7:07. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any other? Hearing none? Call a vote. Let's go.
Aye.
We're out at 7:08, is it?
Yeah, perfect.